Hi, and welcome back to Showing Up Whole, the place where we discuss alignment in mind, body, heart, and spirit in every aspect of our lives. And today, I want to talk to you about aligning to light. We are living in incredibly intense times. It feels like every time you turn around, there's something else feeling pumped up, feeling scary, feeling intense. And within that, it's important to find out how to navigate that and how to find the light. So let's dive in. And hello. It's a powerful time to be kind of having this conversation because we are headed into the solstice this weekend. And that has given me a lot of space to really think about light versus dark. Because, of course, the solstice is all about the dark and the light. And as Neil Donald Walsh always talks about, a candle always shines brighter in the dark. A candle held up to the sun, you don't really get a sense of that. So I've been doing a lot of deep diving into how do you actually shine out your candle, your own individual light. I want to look at that a little bit today. But first of all, I want to talk a little bit about what's happening energetically right now. I posted over in the Facebook group a couple of days ago, and I just asked, how's everyone feeling? It's really intense right now. And it was really interesting seeing the different comments because people were saying, oh, my back's actually really hurting. Or there were people who were saying, I'm really feeling anxious. My blood pressure is shooting up, but then it's actually calming down in really strange ways and strange times. There were people who were saying, I'm intense, absolutely. I think I'm okay. Am I okay? Maybe I'm okay. And some people were just saying, what is going on? And this is where we start the conversation about collective energy. What is collective energy and how does it affect you? When you imagine the planet as we are and all these people on this planet, and you imagine that every single person on the planet is an energetic being. And you imagine all of those experiences that everyone is experiencing every day. And that energy of that is beaming out from them. And now you have there's there always is, but there's certain narratives, there's certain stories, there's certain frequencies that are practiced more and more. And when a group of people focus on one energy, one story, one feeling, one fear, that then builds into a collective energetic force. It beams out like a massive strong signal. And as an energetic being who is always receiving energy, always receiving information, always receiving, that energy also heads to you. So you are assimilating it. It doesn't matter if you're watching the news. It doesn't matter if you're listening to anything. It doesn't matter if you're on social media. It doesn't matter if you live somewhere deep in the woods and you have no idea what's going off in the world. You are receiving energy, and that collective energy influences what you're receiving, especially if you aren't in a space of grounded wholeness. If you're not taking care of yourself, you will absorb more of that collective energy. More about that in a sec. So, what does that mean? Okay, well, let's flip the narrative a little tiny bit because there's also the other side of it. Collective energy can be influenced by a state of open love. When you find the opposite to the feeling of what's out there, when you are from a grounded, whole perspective, you beam out love. And if you can actually get a group of people or a like-minded community that are also focusing their energy on that, if you talk with your friends more about what's working in the world, if you interact on social media with what's joyful in the world, if you actually create consciously the feeling space of light, hope, um, connection, love, then that adds to the collective. And we can influence the collective. There's incredible studies that show that even scientifically, this works. There's a phenomenal study, and you're going to ask me it's the Maharishi study that actually studied the fact that if you gather a group of people and get them to meditate. I think they were doing transcendental meditation. And you ask, and they all are focusing on one phrase of peace and love. That will then have what they call a ripple meditation. It is a ripple effect. And they did studies on this where they actually took people meditating and they measured their like serotonin levels, they measured their cortisol levels, they measured all of their different chemical states. And within that, they found that as soon as they were after meditating, they all collectively felt better. But the fascinating part of this study is the fact that they also measured the levels of the people outside of the meditation, just the people in the general vicinity. And those people also had the same effect on their levels. It's a phenomenal thing to know how your focus, your intention matters. Okay, so keep that in mind, all right? Because the thing is that it's so easy to fall into the emotional vacuum and the triggered state of the collective. And I'm not saying that you're going to bury your head in the sand or cut off your empathy. Rather, this is a time that we actually have to be strong. We actually have to be even more loving than ever before, more empathic than ever before, more intentional than ever before. And we also have to show up. And we have to show up not in anger, not in hatred, and not in fear, but rather in resilient, defiant love. We have to find the frequency of love and beam it out with strength. But how do we do that? So let's just talk individually right now, okay? So you have the collective energy. This is what we're looking at. This is what we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with this collective energy that on a massive scale is right now on a massive dial over to fear. And we need to find ways of dialing that to allow more love to flow through it. Okay. And then we get back to individual selves showing up whole. In order to find the frequency of love and hold the frequency of love and focus on the frequency of love, in order to not let hatred or anger or fear rule our lives, we have to find the grounded space of regulating our nervous systems, connecting to spiritual source, however you perceive that to be. And from a space of security and spiritual well-being, from a space of expansion and from a space of energetic boundaries in place, once you have all of the aspects of yourself in a state of alignment, then you radiate out your light. And your light then gets sent out to the collective. So there's a few steps in this, right? And you hear me talk about these steps continually on this podcast, but it's important that we talk about them continually because it's so easy to forget. You know, last podcast that I did, I was talking about the choice of being you. And you look at that choice and it's hard to choose sometimes. We get sucked in, we get caught up, we get stressed out. And when you have a collective energy of fear, it can be really complicated to actually regulate your nervous system because your nervous system is literally sensing the energy of fear and telling you something's not safe. So let's break it down. You'll remember last season I had Prune Harris on the podcast, and she talked about the power of grounding. If you haven't heard the episode, I highly recommend you piggyback a little bit over to some other episodes. Check out Prune Harris's work. She's phenomenal. But she talked about grounding, and she was talking about how if you ground properly, if you either by like giving attention to your feet, so as I always say, focus on your feet, allowing the energy to shift from your head all the way down, allowing the energy to flow at your feet. Prune mentioned an exercise of putting one hand on your forehead and one hand on the top of your head, and you allow that to sit there breathing for a couple minutes. And from this position, then your energy starts to shift. The energy flows. It's almost like the top of your hand instructs your energy all the way down. And you feel more grounded. You feel more whole. So Prune explained that when you have that core of energy beaming through you, anchoring you into the earth, I I've now actually I've used the image now of it turns into like a fluorescent tube, sideways fluorescent tube, up and down. When you have that core light and it's anchored deep into the earth and it's flowing effortlessly from the top of you, you form a bubble. And that bubble turns into your energetic boundary. As Prune mentioned, it's a mesh. It's not a flimsy bubble, and it's not made of iron. It's a mesh. It lets in the good, but it resists the negative energy. And so within that bubble, I have to say, I've come to think of this bubble as like, when you go to a carnival or something and they've got the big inflatable balls that you walk in and you walk along the water on these big inflatable balls. I kind of see it like that. So if you imagine one of these energetic bubbles and you are in that space, the air within that bubble is your energy. You're grounded. That fluorescent tube of energy that's flowing through you is beaming out. And as it beams out, it is filling your bubble. It is in that strong space that you can feel safe within it because you're grounded. And as you're grounded, you're feeling the love that's flowing through the top of your head. You're feeling that love effortlessly flow through you. And you're beaming it out and sort of like the light in a lighthouse. You've often heard me talk about being a lighthouse. In that light of a lighthouse, you are shining out into the world. The more grounded, the more interconnected you are, the brighter that light comes. And then from that place, then you can start setting the intention of the love that radiates and gets carried out on that force. Okay, hold that image, hold that curiosity, because I want to dive into a little bit about why that, might get interfered with, how I have a little bit of a plan of a little step to do in order to shine that out, as well as how we can influence the collective even more. So just hold on one sec while I just grab a drink of water. Okay. So here we have this concept of being these balls of light. Nervous systems, yeah, uh, we are being presented with things over and over and over again that trigger and create fear within ourselves. And within that, we are being asked to find the opposite of that fear, which is love. There's so many things that within that trigger will just carry you on these different ramparts. And what I find fascinating is, as so many people that I talk to are finding it not happening in world events, but they're finding it in their own personal events. People have been losing their jobs. People have been having health issues. People have been having various challenges show up that don't seem to align to their usual everyday. And it will trigger you in whichever way it can. And it's vitally important to find your grounding. Practice your deep breathing. Get off of social media. Get outside onto the grass. Make sure you are enjoying listening to the birds. Get your feet on the ground and make sure that you are just taking some moments for practicing awe. And then, from that grounded place, focus on love. I mentioned that this is a really powerful time to be doing this because of the solstice. So the solstice is that time of shining out your light. And I will say that this coming weekend, I'm doing a live workshop in Glastonbury on the Saturday, which is of course, the solstice. But the day after that, I am offering a workshop on letting your light shine. So we're going to be diving deep into how to actually allow that light to shine and how to release the things that prevent you from shining. Because it's not just a triggered nervous system will make it hard to shine. There's also layers of confidence. Your light shines from your solar plexus. I spoke to a woman the other day and she said, "Oh my God, I'm so bloated. Why am I so bloated?" And I was like, "Because energetically, we are digesting a lot. We are. We're digesting so much right now." And that's the solar plexus's job. The solar plexus is a burning fire. It's like a generator that is there to burn and consume all of your experiences, all of the energy that's flowing to you, all of the collective, and from that, forge a new version of yourself. It takes some digesting. And so when you are leaning in to who you are and who you are becoming, ooh, all of the old shoulds, all of the old opinions, all of the old trauma, it all comes knocking as well. Because whatever in your life has arisen to try to keep you down, right now, that's what you actually have to work on releasing and letting go. Because shining out means you got to move past that. It's no longer a time of worrying what people think of you. And it's no longer a time of getting caught up of being concerned about making sure you look proper or making sure that you have the right Instagram account or make sure everything's Pinterest worthy or make sure you're doing everything right. It's time to be real and it's time to be honest with yourself and allow that light of your honest, true self to shine out. And that takes some work. So, in the workshop on Sunday, I am going to be working through some exercises to help you release all the shoulds in your life and all of the clutter that makes your light dimmer. It's like layers of filters on yourself. So, if you want any information about the workshop, it's called Let Your Light Shine. The link is down below in the show notes. Hit me a DM. I can um, send you the right link as well. Ask me any questions. It's going to be a powerful thing. It takes place on the Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. here in the UK. It's going to be powerful. So, but within that, I want you to lean into the power of the solstice. This is such powerful energy because what we're being called to do is acknowledge the fear, acknowledge the the empowered step of saying no, and listen to the call to do something. I have to admit, I was in the shower today and you know, I was I was I was I was considering the fact that my kids have been really, really bumping up the fact that I've been keeping a tab on world events. They're very aware that, you can't really believe everything that you read online anyway. So they're like, why are you affecting your vibration? And I've been watching myself and I'm like, I wasn't really affecting my vibration. I'm observing it, and I'm observing it and attempting to find the energy of love and empathy within this. Definitely have empathy. But focusing on how can I send out love. So I've actually in the shower, it was one of those moments, those moments where all of a sudden you have an inner calling. It's not a, it's not an imposed should. It's not even like, oh, well, that's the logical thing to do. It's just an inner calling where you go, oh, that's actually what I have to do. So I'm figuring out all the details, but I realized that I'm going to take a 30-day challenge for myself. And I am actually going to post about a 3-minute meditation every day on one of my social media channels. I think either going to be Facebook or Instagram. I'm right now figuring out all the details. I will be letting you know. Follow me on both in case, because make sure at least following me on one, and I will be announcing it there. I'm going to be going live and offering these meditations and with the hope that others will join me as well. I say with the hope because I want to do my part in sending out more light out into the world. At the same time, like I just mentioned about that study that measured how groups of people meditating all at once can truly change the energy of what's outside. I used to see these types of meditation on social media all the time, and I haven't been lately. And if other people want to start them, by all means, start them. I just have to do my part. So I will be doing that, and I hope you'll join me too. I will be starting in the next couple of days. Again, follow me on either Instagram or Facebook, my Facebook page at Spiritually Aware Living on both accounts. And I will be announcing which account I choose to do this on for this first 30 days. And we will meditate together 3 minutes, 5 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. BST. And we will do our part. And I hope you decide to join me. So it's two things that I'm telling you about. Just 3-minute meditation every day, starting in the next few days. But then let's really lean into how to shine your light. Because your light's important. Your light's unlike anyone else's. And so often this gets forgotten. Even in the collective energy, you know, the collective energy is made up of individual people, but individual people get influenced by a general default vibration. We can all get influenced by a default vibration. Have you ever seen um, that experiment of the metronomes? You know the musical timekeepers, the metronomes that tick all at they keep time. They've done experiments where they've put a bunch of these metronomes all together and they've set them off all at different times. So individual metronomes all on a table. Give them a few minutes and they all sync up. It's incredible. It's incredible to watch. It's also terrifying because the truth is that we're all like those metronomes. We're all influenced by each other's frequency, by each other's energy. And so doesn't that just explain how vitally important it is to make sure that you are grounded and rooted in your own energy? To make sure that you have that bubble in place and that you are filling it with you, your intentional love, your intentional light. Because if that bubble's not in place, then it's so easy to just fall into rhythm with whatever is out there. It's fascinating because I just find that we are headed into the point of really learning what showing up whole means. It's so much more than just the alignment of, your everyday and making sure that you're using the tools to make sure that you're calm. It's not about being calm. It's about being you. And in that, it's about making sure that you are shining your brightest. Because if you're not shining your brightest, what's dimming your light? It's solstice. We are headed in to the longest day here in the Northern Hemisphere. And that means the longest, most empowered time of light. It feels to me that it's important to ride that wave and to allow the light to shine from within ourselves and join the rest of the cosmos, overriding the collective. So that's what I'm challenging myself to do with my daily meditation. And I want to challenge you to do it too. How can you find awe, beauty, love, joy in a small moment? And mostly, how can you deeply connect within yourself so that your light shines out the brightest? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And most of all, I'd love to see you at my workshop on Sunday to celebrate the solstice, or at one of my 3-minute meditations through the day. Love and light, everyone, and blessed solstice.